What's up everyone, Lex DeVille here, and in this video we're going to talk about my updated call process, my updated interview process, interview calls, discovery calls, sales calls, whatever you want to call them. I've updated that process, so if that's something you want to hear, stick around. Hey minions, if you're new to the channel and you like what I have to say, then be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you never miss a video. Only do this if you like what I have to say and if you want to hear more about freelancing, entrepreneurship, and personal world domination. For those who don't know me, I'm Lex DeVille, and on this channel, we help you escape corporate prison, build a freelance empire. We share lots of freelance tips and tutorials and Upwork tips, things like that, so if you're new, consider subscribing. This is actually my third attempt making this video today. I had one attempt that was an epic failure, one attempt where my camera stopped working, one attempt where I got through and recorded the whole thing and was ready to go, but I didn't record the right audio. So now here we are, and we are ready to rock. Last video, I walked you through some of my Upwork proposal process, just looking at a job post, kind of breaking it down, looking at some of the ins and outs and things like that. So that was a pretty good video. It went like 40 minutes, pretty long. We're going to try and keep this one a little bit shorter than that because I don't think it needs to go that long. This video, we're going to be talking about my Upwork call process, and that is for interviews. That is for sales calls, discovery calls. You can call them whatever you want. It is when you move from the proposal into a live call with clients. And before we talk about that, I do want to invite you all to Discord. If you are not in my Discord, the underground Discord server is down in the description. It will be down in the comments. You can find the link there. Come join us. There's 400, 500, something like that people in there right now. And it is becoming a pretty valuable resource for freelancers. We have freelance chat in there. We have a just general chat, just a copywriting chat, things like that. It's a pretty cool place. I'm in there throughout the day. So if you want to talk with me, I'm there. All right, let's talk about these calls. So there's a couple things you need to know. My daughter's in the other room screaming. You might be able to hear her. I don't know if you can or not, but she is sleepy and losing her mind in there. Talking freelance calls. It's late in the day too, so if I get scattered, it is what it is. Do you need to do calls? Do you have to get on calls? A lot of you had that question, especially those of you who are from countries where you are not native English speakers. You have a lot of fears surrounding calls, anxiety surrounding calls. It causes stress and tension and worry and self-doubt. All of these are things that you feel. And you are worried sometimes that you're not going to show up well on the call, that you are not going to speak well, present well, look well, any number of things on a call. You have a lot of imposter syndrome that shows up, that you believe is going to show up, that you're going to be revealed for the fraud that you really are. If you feel any of these things, or if you deal with any of these limiting beliefs or these worries, I'm going to tell you right now that until you overcome them, you're not going to make much money as a freelancer. You might make enough to make full-time pay if you can build up enough clients for that, but you are going to struggle in the long term because you're going to have to juggle multiple clients at lower rates than what you are going to get if you get on a call. Now, if you are willing to get on calls with clients, then there's something that is really important that you need to know. There's actually two things that are really important that you need to know. The first one is that most freelancers don't get on calls. They don't want to get on calls. They're afraid of calls just like you are. So because they don't get on a call, if you are the one who shows up to a call, then you cut out 95% of your competition. So the client who gets you on a call has already decided they like what you had to say in your proposal enough to talk more with you. Now, if you go from there to getting on a call, now you're in a place where you have alone time with the client, where you get to meet and greet and talk with them. Cuts out all the extra chatter so they can get a feel for who you really are. And you are going to win the call most of the time. You're going to win the gig just by getting on the call. The other part of this is that freelance clients, you may not realize this, but they have all the same fears, anxieties, worries, tensions, stress, imposter syndrome. They feel all of that same stuff just like you. These are not gods. These are not world leaders. And even if they are, they're still mere mortals. They're still humans, just like you. And the value of that is that when you understand that that clients also have these same fears, then you can fuel your own mindset with thoughts of, what does that mean for them? It means they don't want to do any more calls than they have to, just like you don't want to do any more calls than you have to. And this is valuable because you only have to talk with the client on one call. But if they don't hire you on this call, then they're going to potentially have to talk to more people on more calls. So they're going to be spending more time on calls, and that is all that stress and fear and worry building up a second time around. So because they don't want to do that, if you just get on the call and you make them feel comfortable with you by talking with them like a real person, then you are going to win the gig most of the time because they don't want to do more calls. They are actively looking for reasons to hire you on this call. That's what you need to know going into this. So calls are super valuable. If you get on calls, you're going to land and win more gigs at higher rates most of the time. You are going to have to be prepared to talk to clients on these calls. You are going to have to be prepared to say a little bit about yourself sometimes. Now, I want to talk about how I've approached these calls over the years, the evolution of my call process, and where it's come, how it's grown, where it's at today. And hopefully some of this can be valuable for you and you can take away some valuable things from this, and maybe that can help you grow your own freelance business. So when I was starting out on Odesk, it's been roughly 10 years ago, getting close to 10 years at least, I didn't have a whole lot of experience. I didn't actually have any copywriting experience, and I was just learning. I was just a beginner. So whenever I got on calls, and I started doing this from the very beginning because I knew that I was going to have to get on calls to prove that I was better than other people. When I got on these calls, I knew that if I talked about my experience, I would quickly reveal that I didn't have a whole lot of experience to back up what I was doing. So what I did instead was I just kept my mouth shut and I didn't talk that much. And this is the single biggest tip I can give you on this video, besides just get on calls, is if you can become comfortable with silence, you have an extremely powerful tool available to you. If you are comfortable with silence, you have a powerful tool available to you, because when you are silent, when you are okay being quiet, the client will fill in that space with words. They will talk for you. They will start telling you about their business. They will start telling you about their problems and what they need help with and what they're looking for. And then you just shake your head and you say, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I get it. You're right. And you just agree with them. You don't have to say a whole lot. They'll probably ask you a little bit about yourself, and you might have to be ready to explain something about yourself, but you don't have to talk a whole lot. Just say something about yourself and then bring it back to silence. And you can just shut down. You can say, yeah, I've been copywriting for about 2 years and grown really fast and worked with clients in similar industries, and now here I am today. And you can just do that. You can just sit there and look at them, look right in the camera, look them dead in the eyes and be silent. And they will fill that space, I promise you. Just like you wanted something to fill that space just now. You were like, what? Is he just going to sit there and look at me? No. Next part of this. So as I grew a little bit, got some experience moving forward. Now I've got a few clients behind me. I start to narrow my niche. I start understanding what audiences I write best for, what kind of clients I want to work with. I'm getting more targeted. This is called the target market, and I'm working out my ideal client. And as I learn about my target market and work with some of these clients in that market, I start to understand how they have similar needs, similar pains, similar challenges, and similar things that I can help them with a lot of the time. So what I do now is on my calls going forward, I started asking questions about their business. And this next piece, people get a little bit hung up on this sometimes due to what used to be my old call process, which I used to have it broken down into stages. So I've dropped this. This isn't really how I do things now, but I used to have it broken down into a rapport stage, a discovery stage, a qualifying stage, and then a closing stage. And I would just kind of mentally think about where I was at within each stage and then try to ask the right questions. I don't think that's as useful because I think it puts you in too much of a sales mindset where you are acting like a salesperson, kind of like straight line persuasion. If you've ever heard of Jordan Belfort and his straight line persuasion method, it is always moving toward the sale, which we are always moving toward the sale, but his is done in a way that is very salesy. It felt very salesy. We don't want to do that, not for freelance clients. They're already warm leads. We don't have to work hard to sell them. We have to work hard to make them feel confident that we can get the job done and that we are competent freelancers at what we do. So the way you do that with these clients is that you approach this like you are a business owner and they are a business owner, and you are meeting up so that you can maybe have coffee and talk about your businesses. Think about it like that. Think about it like you're in Starbucks and you're sitting down for coffee with another business owner. And when you sit down with this person, you're not there to sell them something. You're just there to learn about their business and to find out if the two of you can work together to be valuable for each other. So when you sit down with this person that you've never met before, but you're sitting down with them for the first time at the coffee house, got your coffees, and you take a sip and he takes a sip and you say, "So, tell me about your business." And then you be quiet and you let him talk about his business, and he's going to talk all about it. And you can say some different things. You can say, you can ask questions about the job that you're doing. If you're a web designer, you might say something like, what pages do you need help with? What pages do you want on your website? How many pages? Will you need an email opt-in? Will you need a good copywriting? You can just ask different questions about it if there's things that come up that you would want to know. And the way to approach this whenever you go into it is not only a casual conversation with another business owner, but with a childlike curiosity is probably the best way to describe it. Like, be curious like a child about the inner workings of their business. How does this business work? And how do they get people to come to their business? How do they market themselves? How do they get traffic? What are they trying to accomplish? What are their big goals? What is like the bigger outcome? And where do you fit into that outcome? Where do you fit? How do they see you working together? That's a good question. How do you see us working together? That gets them thinking about you working together with them moving forward into the future. That's called future pacing. So how do you see us working together is probably one of my favorite questions. The point is, you're just going to ask targeted questions, or you're just going to ask questions. Just ask questions about their business. What are your people like? What are the people within the business like? What are the problems you're having, and how do you think that I can fit in there and help out with those? And just where do you see yourself going? Just whatever you're curious about to know about their business. It doesn't really matter. And at some point, they may ask you about your background, like we talked about a few minutes ago. So as you grow in your skills and as you grow in your results, you can share a little bit about yourself. You don't have to be so stuffy about it, and you don't have to be vague or holding back. You don't have to be modest about it. Whenever I'm talking to clients and they ask me about myself, I'll tell them a little bit. I'll tell them about my background. I'll tell them about my failed publishing company and how I took off as a copywriter with no experience, and how I didn't study John Carlton and Gary Halbert and all the traditional grades. I'll tell them how I worked with millionaires and Fortune 100 companies and even startups on Shark Tank. I'll tell them how I've written sales pages that made six figures in 24, 48 hours, how I brought coaches from six figures to millionaires and multimillionaires. And I'll just give them some of these different pieces of things that I've accomplished over time. And then I'll also tell them about my process. So, hey, look, if you want to work with me, well, I've got this much availability. I usually write in the mornings from maybe 3 a.m. till about 10 a.m. And then after that, I'm done for the day. And in the afternoons, if you want to do calls, I take calls in the afternoon. And so I can help you out on calls if we need something like that. And that's kind of my process. I just give them these pieces and they build a picture of a competent freelancer. Now, a couple other key things that you will want to know is that you're not going to be comfortable on your first few calls, most likely. You're going to screw it up. You're going to talk too fast. You're going to talk too loud, too quietly. Any of those things can happen. The best advice I can give you is clean up your background, first of all. You don't want to have a nasty looking room in the background. You also want good lighting. You want good natural lighting if possible. Those are two pieces. When you get on these calls, speak slowly. You want to speak slowly and focus on enunciating. And this does two things for you. First, speaking slowly is how professionals speak. It is how experts speak. It is how politicians and people of power speak. They speak slowly, and they do that so they can enunciate their words. But it also serves to create space between your thoughts, so that, for instance, if you get asked a question and you need a second, and maybe sometimes a second is all it takes. If you need a second, then you're slow. I'm losing my train of thought right now. But because you are speaking slowly, it creates time for your mind to catch up and to think and to come up with an answer. And you can think while you are speaking slowly and while you are responding in a slow manner. So speaking slowly is going to make you look more powerful. It is going to make you look more competent. It is going to make you look more professional. Now, let's talk about the most important piece of all. How do I pitch my prices? Because you're going to want to pitch a price on this call. You're going to get to a point where the client asks you, so how do we move forward? Where do we go from here? What's the next step? They say things like this. And that's going to be a key thing that tells you, oh, so now it's time to talk about making that money. In the past, I would pitch different options. I might pitch a huge upfront price, a retainer, a monthly retainer. That's something I did quite often. You can price however you want. But one thing I would caution you, and this is a huge change that I've made since I've started freelancing again for the last 2 months, is test projects. You want to do a test project. Don't dive into something. I know it's tempting. I know some clients will be ready and willing to pay you a month's worth of wages up front for a month's worth of work. Don't do that. At least if you're a copywriter, I guess. If you're a web designer or something else, you may need to take some time off of the call and go write up a proposal. If you're a copywriter like me, then you need to do a test project. And for many other industries, you want to do a test project. And maybe even for web design, you would want to do a test project. The benefits of this are that, one, you get paid for doing a small amount of work. You get to feel each other out, and that's really what this is about. So if you've made it to this point on the call, then probably both of you are feeling pretty good about each other. You've been in rapport this whole time, and they feel good about you because you've said the right things, you've done the right stuff, and you feel good about them because they haven't hung up on you yet. So you both kind of get wrapped in this cocoon of rapport, and the problem with that is that you can overlook things. You might overlook that the little key indicators that this client is a micromanager and is going to be breathing down your neck. And they might have overlooked the fact that you need a lot of space and time and freedom for your creativity to spread your wings. These are things that get overlooked on calls. So the value of a test project is, first of all, that you get some money from this client. You get to get paid for a small project that isn't going to last very long. For me, I might make, the most recent test project I did was a $400 opt-in page. So it's just one landing page that I'm writing 600 words or so, $400. And once it's done, if we're not a fit, we're not a fit. We go our separate ways. But if we're a fit, then great. That's awesome, because not only did I get paid, not only did we feel each other out, but now we have momentum. We have started working together toward that future goal. And this is valuable because if you remember all the way back to what we said at the beginning of this video, clients are just as afraid, just as tense, just as stressed out about doing calls, and this whole freaking interview process, maybe even more so than the freelancer. This is exhausting for them. Getting through all of this and building up this much momentum and even paying you, it puts them in customer mode. It switches the place that they're at in their mind. They mentally switch, and now they are your customer. And they don't want to have to go back through that whole process of writing a job post, reviewing proposals, getting someone on a call, feeling the fear of that call, maybe feeling the fear of multiple calls, setting up the call, doing a test project, paying more money, and maybe not even finding the right person again. It's much easier once they've already started working with you to continue working with you, to help give you what you need to do good work for them. So even if your work isn't perfect, on that first initial project, they can probably work with you as long as they expect that you are intelligent enough to grow and adapt to what they need going forward. If they think they can teach you that or train you that or explain it better to you, and they usually do, they're going to try that first because they don't want to have to go back through the rest of the process. And that is what this momentum is all about. So in reviewing this video, the key takeaways are this. 1, if you have limiting beliefs surrounding calls, you have to overcome them. You are never going to be a high-paid freelancer if you don't get on calls. So 2, get on calls. 3, if you are inexperienced and you don't have a lot backing you, then just be quiet. Be comfortable with quiet. Practice looking at yourself in a mirror and not saying anything. Practice starting conversations with other people, maybe even in your own household, and just stop talking at key points and let it be silent and see how other people respond. And then as you gain experience, learn to ask questions about their business to keep the conversation flowing, to keep it centered around their business, to keep it moving forward. And you can ask those future-pacing questions. How do you see us working together? What do you see my role being in helping your company grow? When you get to that call, though, weird people outside doing weird things in a car. When you get to that call, the calls end when you get to pitching your price. Do the test project. Offer a test project. Say, you can even tell them your full rates. You can say, if we were to work together ongoing, these are my rates. But first, I always start with the test project so we can get a feel for each other and to make sure that we're a match. And that'll be this price. So if you want to do that, we can go ahead and set that up in Upwork, and we'll get started right away. I can start immediately. Get that deposit, you secure the gig, you've got one more under your belt, and you are ready to get off the call. Thank them, and remember to shoot them a follow-up email or something, or a message saying, thanks for the call, I really appreciate you talking to me, I'm looking forward to working with you. And then you're done. It's that simple. Those are probably the key things that I'm doing in my call process now. They work very well, and if you do these things, you are going to have much better results. You are going to win most of your gigs once you get them to the call. So getting a response from your proposals is basically 80% to 90% of the battle. Once you get that point and then you move to a call, that's where you're going to be able to make money. Of course, this is going to be based on 2 other factors. One of those factors being whatever price you end up pitching, are you at the level to pitch that price? Do clients believe that you're worth that money, that amount? If they don't believe it because you haven't supported it with enough statements of experience or backed it up with just enough proof of what you can do based on what you've talked about on the call, then they may not pay that price. If a client ever says that they've got a few more freelancers to talk to first, that could be one of 2 things. It could be that they don't feel your value and you've gotten out of rapport with them, or it could be that they really do have other freelancers to talk to, and they'll probably come back to you if you paid attention to this video and you did the things that I talked about here. So hopefully you'll take these things to heart. If you have any questions, drop them in a comment down below, or you can come into the Discord chat and chat with me there. I'm in there again throughout the day, and I do answer questions regularly. I pop in, I chat, and I love talking about freelancing. It was exhausting me for a while, but I think that was mostly because I had slowed it down. I was backing out of it. But now that I'm back doing it, I feel good about talking about it, and I can help you grow with it. And I promise you that if you stick around on this channel, you will grow as a freelancer, and you will get better, and you will be one of the best freelancers in existence, maybe someday. Hopefully, that's my goal for you. Stick around, subscribe. If you have questions for me, drop them down there. I'm always hanging around trying to answer this stuff. So that's all I got for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully everything works out on it this time, and I'm Lex DeVille. I'll see you next time.